gorgeous Philly. Welcome to her Empire Builder show.
Hello, Tina. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. And I'm so excited because we've got the member series happening now, which we were just talking about, and bringing on some of our beautiful members to spotlight because I love the story from where it started to where it is now, so that it can help people to have realistic expectations of what to expect and how the whole online course journey unfolds. So thank you for coming on and being willing to share like all of those different iterations as well.
Thank you. I've got some perlers.
You do, you do. Okay, so you joined her Empire Builder like not even a year ago in September 2023, but you've been running courses for a few years before that and running your business before that as a traditional business. So take me back to when you first entered into the business world and how that first looked.
Yeah. Okay. So I entered into it like in a really organic way, actually. So after I had my first baby, she is almost 12. I had a lot of health complications, which then led me to essentially do what I do now. But after she turned 1, it was literally like every month I was just getting sicker and sicker. Like I just started developing all these weird health issues month by month. And when she turned 1, I literally felt like an 80. I was in chronic back pain. I had really low immunity, anxiety, gut issues, hormone issues, all the things, chemical sensitivities. And I picked up a book called Deep Nutrition. And it was a book that talked about you could eat whole food and you can heal your body. And I'm like, what? How have I not known this? And so that's probably where my business journey started because as I started finding natural solutions to try and heal my body because I had hit a roadblock with GPs. I just started sharing on socials. And then eventually I'm like, I could maybe like actually sell some things. And then during that process as well, I became a practitioner, clinical nutritionist first, then functional medicine practitioner, later on trauma therapist, transformational coach.
I love when
So
you
my
find something in your life and you're like all in, like this is me.
Oh, I was, and
Yeah.
maybe a little bit slightly in an unhealthy way. I became very obsessed. And standing on my pedestal too, like thou shalt not eat sugar. You will get cancer if you eat that brownie.
Yeah, okay, so you went really hard.
I went really hardcore, and that was partly why I developed body burnout in the first place because I
Yeah.
ran massive perfectionism, overachieving, overdoing
Yeah.
patterns. So when I tried to heal myself initially, I could have done it in such an easy, flowy way, and I would have healed so much quicker. But anyway, that's
Mhm.
now what we help people to do.
Yeah.
So initially it was kind of the standard brick and mortars, come to my clinic, have a consult, pay per consult, here's some supplements, here's some lab tests. And like I really loved doing what I was doing back then, but I just found that this sounds really bad, but there were only about 10% of clients that actually got really good results. The
Mm.
other 90% either couldn't take the treatment plan that I had created for them based on lab tests and
Because
actually
it's too
implement it.
rigid, or why was
Well,
that?
more just because there's so much unconscious self-sabotage going on.
Mhm.
It's like it's not safe to be well. Can I do it? Like a lot of people, they don't know what's happening, but now what we do with clients is we're breaking down those unconscious barriers. So a lot of people struggle to implement a treatment plan because what if they fail? So if they
Mhm.
try really hard and they fail, then it's going to essentially bring up the greatest fear that they had about themselves, that they're a failure. There's a lot of people too who have had chronic health issues that develop unconscious core beliefs that they're broken, they're the flop, they're the weird one where nothing ever works. They're the ones that go to the doctors and specialists
Mhm.
and can't get answers, so they must be essentially broken. Um, and then another group of people too could take a treatment plan and implement it perfectly, but get no results.
Mhm.
That was just really mind boggling. So during 2020, the lockdown, COVID, so
Yes.
many people have pivot stories coming
Change,
from that.
yeah, changed everything for everybody.
It
Yeah.
changed everything. But so my husband, Chris, who is now in our business, he was a personal trainer, elite athlete, but he was also probably a year or two previous really getting into mindset coaching and looking at the power of the mind to help with performance and get results. And so we talked previously to 2020 that it's like, oh, you should come and join my practice because there are people that need what you do. I don't have this skill set. I'm really good at telling people what to do,
Mhm.
but I don't know how to coach them to help them do the things. And so 2020 gave us that opportunity because his gym back then, which again was brick and mortars, got locked
Yep.
down. He was
Yeah.
completely burnt out as well. So we both had our burnout stories,
Mm.
and he loved it. Lockdown was the best. He's like, I don't have to get up at 4 a.m. and get home at 10 p.m. and train people every day and have like staffing issues. I'm not gonna. So he just decided just to like let go of the gym. We didn't even sell it. He literally just sold all the equipment, which there
Yeah.
was a lot.
Yeah. But
And
also a good time to sell the equipment in COVID.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It
Yeah.
all went really
Yeah.
quickly.
Everyone wanted it.
Yeah. And then we created Chris and Philly Functional Medicine.
Mm.
Um, and it was very intentional that we wanted to do it on the online space so that could give us more freedom to live the life that we wanted to, whether it was go traveling or just hang out together as a family. Because previous to that, like I was pretty much single mummying and my children hardly saw Chris.
I don't
Um,
know how people do it. I mean, I talk to Matt, my husband, about this a lot and going because I get asked a lot how we do life and how we spend so much time together as a family. And I go, I don't know if people don't own their own business. I actually don't know how they do it. And if two people are like working full time, I don't know how they do it either. Like both
yeah,
those things, I go, I just don't know how this works for people. So often my response is, I don't know how you do it. This is how I
yeah,
do it, and that works for us. But it's
yeah.
yeah, I think once you have a taste of that life, you never want to go back. You're like, how did I do that for so long?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So agree. The other reason too was, as I mentioned before, I just wanted to help people get great results.
Mm,
And the standard pay per consult, take this piece of paper, here's your lab results. This is out of whack. Go and do the thing.
yeah.
It just wasn't working for the majority of the people. And so that's where we developed our skill set and really started looking at the deeper root causes as to why someone's body system's burnt out in the first place and offering a complete and remarkable program, well, a complete program that is very supported, very holistic, that can provide our clients remarkable results.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And
Um,
so what did you start with then? You got to 2020 and you were like, all right, we're going online. We've got Chris and Philly's functional medicine. Let's launch. What did you launch with?
yeah. Okay. So we started off with a 6 week program called Rise Up. Um, and it was really cheap.
It's
But
how a
back
lot of
then,
people start out is they go, "We'll just market cheap and then we'll sell like bucket tons of them."
yes,
And I love
yes.
this story because like I always stand by, I actually think it's easier to sell higher ticket than it is to sell low ticket in a
Yeah,
lot of cases. Yeah.
yeah. So Rise Up actually, in terms of selling, okay, first of all, I had major money blocks back then. So the moment that Chris and I joined forces, and Chris was very, or still is, very visionary and like risk taker, and let's try this and try that. And I was back there like little Philly, still stuck in paper consult. That's the only way people are going, like the only way we're going to be able to get clients. So already I brought a whole heap of negative energy to it.
Yeah.
But I just let him sell it. And look, we sold, I can't remember. I probably should have found the figures, but we sold a good chunk of beta testers into the Rise Up protocol. I think because it was new and we had like people that already liked, knowed, and trust us. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'll give that a go. It was
Yeah.
cheap, it was, discounted, and it was good. But then, kind of after a couple of months, it just stopped. Like it was almost like the people in our current audience that were interested had already purchased it and gone through it.
Yeah.
And I guess we hadn't really created an ongoing marketing machine to be able to
Yes.
bring new people into the circle. So it kind of like fizzled out. And when we created Rise Up, we also made the decision that no one could work with us unless they joined the program. So like literally we just cut the pay per consult model
Yeah.
out And that got really stressful maybe 6 months in, because all of a sudden it's like, where are all our clients? Like, we're literally not
Yeah.
making any money. The
Especially when you're
gym,
both in there and your whole
yes,
family's like lifestyle and everything is all based on this one
yes,
business. Yeah.
absolutely. Like before, when we had the gym, that was probably our main stream of income.
Yeah.
Um, Luckily during COVID, we got the JobKeeper, the business stimuluses, all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
that kept
Gave
us
you a little bit of
going.
a runway. Yes.
Yeah, that kept us going. So anyway, things got really tight and stressful, and then we ended up joining a business program, which is where I met you, Tina,
Yeah.
which was really great. But we created our next product called the Power Parent. I laugh now; it sounded really good at the time.
Dude, when I like was reading all your backstory and I'm like, this doesn't seem to fit in everything else, like name wise and what it is. So
Oh
yeah, talk to us about that.
dear. Okay, yeah. So Power Parent essentially was like, okay, well, who do we love working with? I love working with people like me. So, I mean, maybe
Mm,
that's like a business owner and a mum who's
yeah.
burnt out. And Chris is like, yeah, a dad and a business owner. So we kind of went down the parent route for a
Which
bit.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so that made sense. But then Power Parent, look, to be honest, so in the program, it was a brilliant program. It was quite masculine though. So Chris was over here like power parent, and then our coaches, when we brought the idea to them, they're like, "Yeah, I love it, power parent. Yeah, I can see myself as a power parent." And I just knew that it didn't quite feel right, but I just went with it. So I kind of wasn't listening to my own intuition, and I feel like since we've pivoted to our message now, I'm kind of the main face of the business,
Yeah.
because I am the embodiment of what we help our clients to become.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And so how did
Um,
Power Parent go?
it was a flop. So we launched the program, and this time it was 6 months. There was like a combination of one-on-one, group, online course, all that sort of stuff. Very well supported, but mind you, we didn't really know what was inside it. We were literally planning to just create it as we received our first beautiful intake of clients. And then we're like, and then we'll build it out. So already the messaging was kind of unclear. I had all the money blocks back then as well. So I'm like, I don't even know what we're selling.
Yeah.
Um,
I hear people talk about this a lot in our industry is like sell it first and then create it. And I always disagree with it and most people disagree with me on that sort of ethos. But I think from a sales and marketing point of view, if you have built something and you're so proud of it and you know exactly what it is and what it can do for people, it then becomes so easy to sell it because you're like, I know what's behind this curtain. Like this is going to show you so much and teach you so much and going to deliver on this transformation promise. Whereas for me, I always feel a little bit like if it's not created yet, you're just not lying because you know you're going to create it, but you don't quite know. Like you don't have the same conviction with this is what we go through, this is what we do because it's not there yet. So I love that you felt like that because you should have felt like that.
yeah, I so agree. Chris, like he worked with a few different people, and they had the same, like the opposite message was, yeah, just
Yeah.
sell it first and then create it. But
Yeah.
I couldn't. Even now, like sometimes we'll put on in advance, for launch period, we'll do like a
Yeah.
3-day live event, and I've mapped out like the skeleton of what it's
Yeah.
going to look like. But I really don't get into like the zest of it
Yeah.
until I know exactly what's going to
Yeah.
be
And you know
delivered.
how it's going to transform for
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
completely. Yeah.
So we launched Power Parent. Now, we actually used your free checklist. So like I really put a lot of effort into
Back
the
in
graphics
2021.
back in 2021.
Wow.
This is after meeting you in a masterclass as well. So you kind of like offered that as like, oh yeah, here's a free checklist. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. We're gonna sell heaps. This is great. I've got the
Yeah.
formula.
Don't blame my checklist.
I'm not blaming the checklist. The checklist was awesome, and we actually had quite a lot of engagement from it. But I remember the last day of doing live, so we did like 4 live Instagram.
Yeah.
I said to Chris, I can't turn up.
Oh.
I feel sick to my stomach. I'm burnt out.
Mm.
I'm like not sleeping. So I ditched him.
Oh.
So already like There was a lot of like, mind you, it definitely wasn't your checklist,
Yeah.
and it probably wasn't even our program. It was that I was in a very insecure state within
Yeah.
myself back then, and I didn't even know why or that it was happening.
Yeah. And so in
So
hindsight, looking at that, because I see a lot of people do this, like they put a lot of effort into a launch and then it doesn't go well. And, the whole instinct is to, get under the covers and hide and never come out again
yeah,
because you've failed in
yeah,
your eyes of gone totally below what your expectations are.
yeah,
And you experienced that. And I know like we'll get to the business that you have built now, which is awesome.
so awesome.
But for a lot of people, they would have quit then.
Mm,
How did you not like, how did you
mm,
get through that? And what do you think caused you to go like, to put your head in the sand through that launch and to be
mm.
so burnt out through it and not show up as, you know, the vivacious human that we know you are?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, we sold one,
Mm.
and then she asked to cancel like a month in. So that was like an extra dagger to the heart.
Yep.
And we were just so deflated by then. We had a no can't like you can't get a refund after
Mhm.
a week cooling off period, but we were just like, stuff this crap, take your money.
Yeah.
So I experienced PTSD from that.
Mm.
That's like a big claim, but I definitely felt it in my body for many, many months afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think whenever you fall well short of your expectations in something, it hurts.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
hurt. And so what we did to recover from that is that we were just like, okay, let's turn this program into a membership option. So we turned it into more like a, you can join, there's no contract. There's little commitment. We don't really know what's going to come, like how this is going to build out, but we sort of just did an open-ended sort of membership so that we could still have people coming into our vision of a holistic container,
Yep.
but there was less pressure, I guess, for the person making the purchase
Yep.
because, if they didn't like it, they could leave after a
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
And then also there was kind of less pressure for us too, because it was a bit of an easier sell. But what we also did was I added back in the pay per consult because I knew that sold. I knew that, people were asking for that. Chris would
Mm.
get so many free discovery calls, especially from maybe like old people that either worked with me in the past or followed. I don't want to do the program. I just want to see Philly.
Yeah.
And so, people were asking for it. We weren't making any money. We weren't paying ourselves a wage. So I put that back in place from
Yeah.
a financial
Yeah.
security point of view.
Smart. Yes.
Yeah, it was smart, but I also felt again like a failure. I'm like, oh, I thought we were never going to do this. This isn't the best way of practicing, but like literally, this is going to be able to feed my children while we figure out how to
Totally.
make this work.
Yeah. I mean, it's the conversation I'm having with a lot of people now. Like
Mm.
in our economy, generally, like some industries are really touched, some are not touched at all. But generally speaking, our economy is worse than it has been since the 90s. And so for a lot
Yeah.
of people, it's going, well, if there's things that you have in your toolkit that you can put in that you'd stop doing, but will pay the bills and will allow you to survive another day and to thrive throughout an economic downturn, do the thing. Like
Mm.
a lot of us as course creators, we stopped doing done for you services. I'm seeing a lot of people get back in, do done for you services. And to me, there is nothing shameful about that whatsoever. Like we do what we've got to do as business owners. Our job is to survive and to run sustainable, profitable businesses. And I hate that when things get hard, that people feel shame around having to get back in and serve clients again.
Yeah.
Like it's fantastic. It's wonderful that you have that backstop as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you did the right thing there. That's why
Yeah.
you're still here now.
Absolutely. Otherwise, I don't know, I'd probably be in hospital. Psychiatric
Gosh,
unit.
you're hard on yourself, aren't you?
Well, I really was. I'm like,
Yeah.
so okay, so in the space of, so we joined her Empire Builder last September,
Yeah.
August. The month before that, we did our second ever like proper launch
Oh, so
using
it took
again
you
your
a while to
yeah.
go again. So
Yeah.
you waited nearly 2 years to launch again.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that was hard for you.
That was PTSD. That's what I mean. So, but during that 2 years, we continued working on our message. So we're like, this power parent thing is not working. Let's just
Yeah.
shelve it. Even though we'd spent a lot of money on like a graphic designer and
Yeah.
like it was all pretty and beautiful and all that sort of stuff, but we're like, it's not working.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the time frame, but I'm pretty sure pretty short after the burnout. It's like this is what I've experienced in the past. This is what Chris has experienced. This is what majority of our clients who are already in our world are
Mm.
experiencing. Because burnout, like a lot of people think that burnout is, you've just been working too hard in your job or business and now you're burnt out. But burnout is essentially like chronic stress that has gone on long enough that now your body systems are literally burnt out.
Yeah.
And you don't recover from just having a holiday
Yeah.
or having a good night's sleep. It's literally like there is something deep inside your system that is burnt out.
Yeah. It took me a good 2 years when I hit, like, adrenal fatigue and full body burnout. It took me about 2 years of getting better.
Yeah, yeah, and it takes time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we came up with all right, well, it's something around body burnout. And again, this went against every coach that we'd ever spoken to before because they
Mm.
always said name your product or your service or what you're known for, something positive like the
Oh,
price.
yeah.
Um, but we're like far out people like
Relate to it.
they're late to it, but Power Parent didn't work because it was way too up there in terms of like,
Mm.
a person is struggling to get out of bed and work and parent. They're not even thinking about wanting to be a power parent. They
Mm.
actually are stuck in survival.
Mm.
And so we needed to be able to talk to those people, which is why actually talking about the pain point
Yeah.
really started working. So end your body burnout, and then the tagline is and find your spark,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is really nice too, because a lot of people who are really burnt out, like struggling with what we call body burnout, are exhausted. They're stuck in survival. Like the next step up is, yeah, I want to find my spark. Like
Yeah,
I want to
totally.
find something that then can build my energy and my motivation so I can do the things that are going to be able to heal me and have the life of my dreams.
Yeah, yeah. And so then in August, you launched Ending Body Burnout and you had a very different result. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So, okay, here's the thing. We didn't actually launch it. It's just that we closed doors. So over those 2 years, maybe a year before we did like a proper launch again. It was still just a membership model. Anyone could join at any time after they had a consult with me. And if they wanted the holistic approach, come and join the program.
Yep.
Still back then, we still had a pay per consult option. Again, that's like the PTSD I was talking about. I'm like, I have to hold on to that as a safety net because
Yeah.
I'm really nervous that if we drop that, we're going to go bankrupt again. Not that
Yeah,
we went
totally.
bankrupt, but it
Yeah.
felt like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, last year things were going really well. So there was a lot of things we'd done from a marketing perspective as well. So we became Telstra Best of Business Awards winner in Tasmania. We were a national finalist. Um, we were winner for the Australian Women's Champion Awards. So, we'd build up those accolades and awards over
Yeah.
that period. Also getting featured in Forbes, Body and Soul. I published a book.
I
And
mean, all
then,
of that goes so far for your credibility and trust building, which I think is a key metric in terms of how successful a launch will be.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think what made that launch really successful. So actually, by then, my book wasn't even published. It was published last November, but we'd also built our podcast and I started pitching to higher profile podcasters
Yeah.
in our industry. And it just so happened, and it was good because then I could offer a podcast swap as well. It's like, I'd love to
Yeah.
come on your podcast to add value to your audience. Oh, I've also got a podcast, so I'd love to have you on.
Yeah.
And most people say yes because it's like, yeah, cool, that was easy. I didn't have to like organize that. I'll show
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you're a Thermomix lady, but there's a
I am.
beautiful, beautiful lady called Jo Whit. Jo Whitten, she has a business called Quirky Cooking. And
Yes,
honestly,
I
she was
know
just,
it.
oh, yay. I was her, she was my idol because when I first started changing the way that I was eating, it was her cookbook, the Thermomix. Like literally,
Yeah.
I'd been cooking with Jo for 12 years.
Oh, I love that.
And then she said yes to me to come on her podcast, and I was so
That is
excited.
the best feeling. Yeah.
I know, it was so good. And we recorded that, I don't even know when, but she didn't release it until the week before we did the proper launch in August last year.
Nice.
Yeah. So
What a
that was kind
champ.
of like perfect timing. We had a lot of people join that and then we closed doors. Back then we were still doing a membership model and it was a lot cheaper than what it is now.
Yep.
So I still felt like I really it almost like made me a little bit sick to the stomach because I'm like, this is still so cheap for what people are receiving in
Yeah.
terms of support, but also results. But you know, I want to be able to have enough people that we can say this program is flipping awesome and it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, so then we closed doors. I think we had maybe 24 people join
Yeah.
us in
Yeah.
that one. And then I'm like, Tina, I'm ready to join your program now. I'm really gonna like, this is gonna work.
Interesting that it's like, so you were already using the free resources we put
Yeah.
out like in 2021, but you felt like you needed to like reach some invisible marker of success before you were like, okay, I'm ready. Whereas part of me is like, if you
Yeah.
just joined back in 2021, you could have saved 2 years.
I know. Isn't that funny? I don't think that was the only reason. I think, like, initially when I came across you, the moment that you were in a masterclass inside the other business program, I'm like, at some point, I'm going to work with Tina because she's so cool. I just
Aw.
loved you. And also, like, what you offered in that 3 hour masterclass was
Yeah.
so gold. And, like, that's how I got the not that's why we went for the Telstra Business Awards. I probably
Yeah.
never would have if you hadn't inspired me to do that.
Awesome.
Um, but also there was a period too after I finished that program that I'm like, I got to do some deep work on myself. And that's when before we joined your program, I'm like, we're literally hitting a financial ceiling because I don't know why, invisible me sabotaging my ability to be able to make more money.
Mm.
And so that was really important for me to do that personal work on myself
Yeah.
so that then I'm like,
You
yeah,
could
when we join
optimize it.
Tina's, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So then when we join Tina's program, I know it's just going to be like amazing.
Yeah. And how did it go?
So good. So good. So then we did our next launch in January this year. And this time that so this was again like a little bit nerve-wracking because instead of having a month by month membership option where people could cancel at any time, we turned it into a 6 month program because we've found too that, you know, if someone can stay in that space for 6 months, they're going to get pretty awesome results.
Yeah.
Sometimes people need a little bit longer and we have a back end membership for that.
Yeah.
But generally, if someone throws themselves wholeheartedly into the results, I mean, into the process, they get amazing results.
Yeah, for sure.
And we doubled the price. And, you know, so it was a little bit like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. But we outdid the previous launch in September. I think we welcomed in 28 or 29 clients. I think it was close to $70,000 launch.
Congratulations.
So that was so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what do you think that you did differently for that launch that you hadn't done before, which got you that bigger
Mm.
revenue than you'd ever had in a launch?
I feel like it was probably just the price. The
Yeah.
price, but also the program. What I found with the membership one when we had that is that even though in my psyche I thought that that would be easier for people to opt into because it's low commitment,
Mm.
most people had questions around how long am I actually going to be in this
Yeah.
for?
Yeah.
Like, is this like a 3 month thing or is it like a 2 year thing? And when we turned it into
6-month program.
like a 6 month program, I actually feel like for people's nervous systems, which essentially when we're talking to a prospect or a new client, we're talking to their nervous system, not to their
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
Their nervous system felt safe because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, 6 months, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. That's you know, there's a clear time frame there. It's not ambiguous. Okay, yeah, I can do that.
Mm.
So I actually feel like that was beneficial. And also during all the launch marketing stuff, and when we did our 3 day live coaching event during that too, I was able to talk about the program with more authority.
Yeah.
That's not the right word. With more clarity
Yeah.
that it's like in this
And
amount
so
of time. Yeah.
what does now, so you running your 3-day challenges, you showing up, like, I know you well enough to know how you show up, and I watch everything that you do, but from what you were saying before with you got to the end of launch, which launches can be exhausting, like, they are very high energy, very concentrated marketing activities. What do you do now so that you don't, like, wig out and go, "Oh, you, Chris, I'm out," at the
I'm
end?
going.
How do you support your nervous system when you're going through it so that you're staying really vibrant throughout?
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Okay, so I like to be prepared and organized. So I
Yes.
make sure
Oh,
that all
my
that
love language.
the love language. So I try to do all within my power to get what I need to do done before launch. Now we also have Chris on our team who is like a last minute dude. But I've learned to like accept that, and
Yeah.
he's okay to, crunch out whatever work he needs to do during launch. But if I can do what I need to do, then I can feel settled so that when I come into that, my energy is there to show up and serve and to
Yeah.
love and to answer questions and to just feel really regulated myself, because I feel like that's essentially why people are attracted to our program. They're
Yeah.
dysregulated, they want the opposite.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so that's a huge one. Another one is like literally just talking to myself around your worth is not attached to a person joining our program.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter if someone buys this or not. It has nothing to do with me as a person, like at my core. Even if we had a flop launch, like our last one, when was that? Just recently, May. I wouldn't call it a flop. It was actually great. We hit a benchmark in terms of our program for how many people we can fit into our program. We
Yep.
hit that, and actually we let a few extras slide
Yeah.
in, but that was like a huge milestone. So I would say last launch, even though it might have been a bit less in revenue, is still a complete success.
Yeah.
um, but if that hadn't have happened, I am still an awesome practitioner. Like
Yeah.
our program is still flipping amazing. And so like I really work with myself and my own inner self-talk that I'm unattached to the outcome of whether someone chooses to join or
Mm.
not,
Yeah.
or the amount that we earn. And that allows me again to show up grounded, relaxed, calm, and to also just like love the person, especially when they say no or
Yeah.
like not this time.
Love that. I love that. And what do you think has been the biggest learning for yourself in the last 2 years in terms of the actual, like you've talked about, you becoming more comfortable with yourself and your being. But what do you know about course creation now that you can share with people as tangible tips that you maybe didn't know a couple of years ago?
Like so much. Didn't even know what Kajabi was.
Yes.
Okay, what can I tell? Tips. I actually find it really fun. I think one of my superpowers too is being really detailed. So when we are creating a course, I want to imagine that client or customer working through it and getting great results. So I actually really love mapping out like what the video is going to look like and what the little download and what the action steps are going to look like. And then in terms of like the tech side, I actually don't do a lot of that. Chris does a lot of that, or our VA.
Yep.
So I guess I'm probably the more creative one on the course creation
Yeah.
side.
Which is so handy to be able to have both of you doing it.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I wish
Actually,
I
that's a big thing that I've learned, is that Chris and I were trying to do jobs that weren't in our genius zone.
yeah. Yeah.
So for example, he's amazing at graphics and what things look like. I'm really great at words and writing. And when we try and move into each other's space, oh, that's where
Doesn't
like
work as
things
well.
go really haywire and we get really angry with each other.
Yeah.
So like that might be really helpful for someone who has a team, even if it's a small one, even if it's you and a VA, or there's two founders, what's your zone of genius? And being able to really amplify that And rather than you trying to do everything, well, what are the things that you're not so good at or that you don't like doing,
Mm.
and find someone to be able to do that.
Yeah, it'll save you a lot of angst in there. So where are you heading? What does success look like for you?
I think success is a feeling in my body.
Love that.
Um, it's when I can wake up. There's no success for me is there's no urgency.
Mhm.
That it's okay to build the business slowly or fastly,
Mm.
depending on how I feel in my body. So it's being aligned with myself to know, am I moving towards this project or towards this growth period or even this slow period from a space of alignment, or is it from a space of fear?
Mm.
And when I can tap into that alignment energy, like that's success. So it's actually less to do around numbers of clients or the amount in our bank account or revenue or
Mhm.
profit. And it's more around how I feel, because when I feel great, I know that we make more money
Yeah,
and
everything
my
works when you feel good.
everything works better. My marriage is better, and my parenting is better. My kids are happy. I feel better. I feed myself better. I
Mhm.
move better. I sleep better. So just,
Such
yeah,
good
so that
advice.
trust in self.
Yeah, that's such good advice. And my final question, what do you love most about being part of Her Empire Builder?
Oh, so much. So much. I know that I've like listened to other podcasts when you have spoken to other members,
Mm.
and pretty much everyone says community, and I didn't think that that would be the case when I joined, because I, again, like, I'm the strategy, the detail. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, give me the things to do and I'll implement it. But the community is awesome. The Gold Coast conference, which was my first one in April, was so good to be able to connect with people and to be excited and motivated by what other people are doing too. And
Yeah.
when you get stuck, there's always someone who has solved the problem, whether it's yourself or someone
Completely.
else.
Yeah. And I think that's
Um,
so powerful in going like, obviously, I'm a strategist. I put so much effort into all of the strategies and all of the templates and all of the SOPs and everything that we do. But it's like being surrounded by, you know, 200 other women that are all in it and doing it at the same time
mm,
really pulls people out of that. If you have a launch that falls below expectations, like you can be pulled up and the resilient, like the bounce forward is so much more. Or we see people all the time that are scared to take the next step, but then they'll see a woman to their left kind of doing that and be like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it too. Like there's just the rise up of everybody together is my favorite thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I love being able to just pick your brain as well. So,
Yeah.
like in our group sessions or at the end of master classes, sometimes I'll bring a question. I'm like, oh, this is so basic. I think I already know the answer. But you'll be like, and do this and this and this. I'm like, whoa, I didn't even think
Yeah.
about that. So it's so it's so nice to have that regular touch point, because otherwise that wouldn't progress. I'd
Yeah, yeah,
just be
yeah.
trying to do the things that I think work or that might have worked a year ago, but you are so up with the times all the time.
Yeah, I do love it. Yeah. I nerd out on all of it. But also like I think you do well because you do ask questions. You do get involved. You do go, I'm at my edge now. I want to go past the next one. How can I get there? And you're open to experimenting in that, which is such a hallmark of people that go further and do really well. So well done on you for
Thanks.
going, yes, I am always open to learning.
Mm,
But I'm very
awesome.
happy to see you embody more of your confidence now because the results that you do get for people and the program that you run and the way you run it is so important.
Mm,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm very happy to.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Philly. You're amazing.
Thank you.